everyone, I'm Amy McDonough from the Media Department of the SMA Fathers in Tenafly, New Jersey. Here with me today is Father Andrew of the SMA, and he's going to share with us some of his past experiences as part of the SMA. So, hi Father Andrew, thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well today. Thank you, Amy, for inviting me for this interview. Thanks for the time you are giving me as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're happy to have you. So how has your time in New Jersey been?
It has been pretty interesting because for the last 5 weeks I've been visiting different parishes and talking about the mission, especially about the mission of the Polish unit of the SMA. So it has been pretty interesting to meet different people and see what is the response of the people here to the missions.
All right. Well, it's great to hear. So first, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. So where you're from, and when the church became a larger part of your life.
I am from the Polish unit of the SMA. That means that I'm coming from Poland. I was born in Poland, raised in Poland, studied in Poland, and then I was sent to the mission from Poland. Now I'm with SMA Fathers for a pretty long period of time because I joined SMA in 1991, so it is last century. It seems so long for us now to hear that it was 1991. But it was the time when I started learning about the SMA, started learning about the mission of the SMA, although I was interested in the mission of the church for a long time. And I think that desire to go to the mission was one of the things which made me to join the SMA as a congregation, which is mainly working in Africa. And somehow in this interest in going to the mission, Africa was very in the center. That's why it's still there.
All right. Well, thank you. So, what exactly is your role in the SMA? So, what do you do?
At present, I am responsible for the Polish unit of the SMA, so I'm superior, and that's the role we just carried for a number of years. We are doing it in terms, so my terms will be up next year in June. But before that, I was working in the mission. After ordinations, I was working in jury commission, that's Kenya. After that experience, I was called to be responsible for the formation program for the Polish unit of the SMA. So for almost 6 years, I was in charge of the formation in the SMA. The time when different students at the time, seminarians, were preparing to go for the mission. So part of my experience I was able kind of to share with them as they were preparing for the mission. And I mean, I know really well that it is almost impossible to prepare everybody for whatever is happening there in Africa, but at least talking about my experience, they could kind of get an idea what is it like to be in Africa, what is it like to work in Africa as a missionary, as a semi-missionary priest. So I think that was something which was for them as well really important, since they were preparing for that to go to Africa.
All right. So what made you want to join the SMA?
There was a time in my life when I really wanted to go to the missions. And it was interesting because it was kind of transmitted in the family, but as well the parish from which I'm coming, we used to have a long tradition of sisters and missionaries who were working in different continents. And I remember really well when still I was in primary school when we had sisters, Palatine sisters who were working in Rwanda at the time. And usually they would come for holidays and the parish priest would allow them to talk about the mission, to share the experience about the mission. And that was a time when I was kind of getting drawn to it. And their experience was really very positive, and frankly enough, it had to be maybe difficult for them in some areas to work, but whenever they were coming, they were sharing really good side of being a missionary, of working in the mission. We were sharing about the interest of the people who we were working with. We were sharing about their way of life, about the closeness to the people, but in their missionary life it's hard to be on your own because people are always there. Of course, some of them are working as nurses, so it makes as well a bit different kind of ministry we were doing, being religious sisters, but at the same time serving as nurses and almost like doctors in some cases, because they have been at least qualified, and it was hard for them in those places they were working to get qualified medical staff. And it was very interesting for me to see how it is being done in Africa. But always with talking about this so-called social work, we'll be talking about how we're blessed by the fact that we are working in Africa and what we are learning from the experience and how we are enriched by the local cultures. So that was something as well which was from that time growing somehow in me, that interest, that desire to go to the missions.
Right. Yeah. So going off of that, some people say that when you go out to help people, those people end up helping you just as much in return. Would you say that's true for you?
Working in the missions or being in different culture, it helps everybody. First of all, it was helping me from the beginning as well to realize who am I as a person. It was teaching me so much about my roots, because the roots in Africa are important. Teaching me a lot about my family, relations in my family. It was teaching me as well a lot about what are the important things for me, what are the things I most treasure. Because knowing it as well allowed me to, how should I call it, allowed me to be sensitive to those areas for the people I was working with. And I think that's one of the big richness which is there, because it was always something more I was learning about myself. In simple situations, it was not only studying and being with my African confreres, who are now confreres, but they were students at the time. So it was like the friendship we were able to build in a seminary. But then as well working in a mission, I was working with different people, different characters, different personalities, and yet we were kind of by relating to each other. I think it was a process of growing, of enriching ourselves. So it is not that being in a mission, working with somebody else, just giving, but it's as well so much you are receiving. And I was receiving a lot during that time.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the church in Poland and your life in Poland.
Some people say that the church in Poland is a bit traditional. I wouldn't call it traditional. I would call it a church which has its ways, and because it is like that, basically people do expect it to be like that. Traditions are important. All the big feasts are important. So like Christmas, Easter, All Saints. In some parishes we have like parish feast days which are important. It's commemorating different saints. And it is bringing people as well together. And I think that was one of the things which kind of allowed me as well to see what is important in celebrating in Africa. From one perspective, for the local cultures, it is important that they celebrate, but then once they're in church, it's as well a moment for celebration as well. So and I could see this kind of waiting for the seasons which were changing. And I was privileged to work at the beginning with Father Frank Wright of the U.S. province of the SMA. So learning as a young missionary, I was learning from him a lot of things, and he was introducing things which were, for example, important in South America, because he knew something about it. He himself worked as well in West Africa, so he would put some of it as well into it. And I think everyone was kind of bringing something from the local church we were coming from. And I think it worked.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, great. Thank you. So it's truly great what you do, but have there been any times that you faced any challenges or obstacles along the way?
There were things or situations when it was kind of difficult to handle it. But what was interesting for me at the beginning was when, as a young priest, we were sitting with Father Frank Grych, and he was explaining to me that in case somebody comes and asks you for something, please send him to me. You are new in a place, so everybody will be coming to you. And surely enough, there were so many people coming asking for different things. And of course, I wasn't confident in Swahili language because I wouldn't know it at the time, not yet. I was learning it. Then I wouldn't know the whole history of the people who were coming as well. So it was kind of a way of setting me in a safe place. But at the same time, by doing that, I was able to learn how it is being done in the place. So I didn't need to discover the wheel. The wheel was there, and it was really interesting to see, because after some time, almost naturally, I was kind of responsible for things, and I was kind of handling the things on my own. But at the beginning, that was really important. Father Frank Grych was there, and he was helping me a lot in that area. There were times, for example, when he was going for holidays, or I would go for holidays as well, so one of us would stay behind. And I think that was the most challenging time, because when you were almost on your own, in a sense. Nowadays, with telephones, with mobile communication, internet, it's easy to communicate, but at that time it was really hard to communicate. So sometimes, when the decision had to be taken, maybe something important, doing it on your own, it may be difficult. But I knew at the same time that the full confidence was placed in me by Father Frank. So whatever was to be done, it had to be done. And decisions which were kind of really important, I would be making sure that it would be done once he's back. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be putting myself into trouble, and him I wouldn't be putting in trouble. Because in the work, when we're in a mission, usually when the team works, everything works properly. Once the team starts to break, then we may have difficult situations. So I think overall it worked pretty well.
Right. So, in what way does your relationship with God play a role in the work that you do?
I think it is the central part of it, and it's not something which is kind of to be looked at on from the kind of external side. The thing that God has created me, and He has given me the talents I have, and He has sent me to the mission, or called me to be the missionary, as well as I'm called to respond to it every day, and to realize that there are people there in the mission as well who have the talents, who have been created by God, but in the same way as myself, who have their dignity, and that was helping me to fight for it and to protect it. Especially when sometimes people do come and they come with difficult questions or different matters, and they would need to be approached with gentleness and compassion. And I think God is like that, gently compassionate, and because of it, sometimes I think He was helping me as well to be in those situations gentle and compassionate to His children, because we are all His children. So I think that's the core, and I think it can be just separated, but you're doing something in a mission, whatever is being done, either the catechesis or sacraments or maybe some kind of social work. God is always there. He's always there, making us more human for those who are coming and approaching us, making us more aware that He is the one who is always in charge of everything, as long as I'm able to allow Him to do it. And that was really important in my work. That's why, for example, there were times when I was, for example, on my own in a mission, I would take a day off, which would be a day of rest, but as well as a day of kind of retreat, a bit of recollection, just to get enough strength to do whatever's to be done. I remember still one of the bishops who was saying once at home in Poland that people have the right to have a priest who is after holidays. And that meant that people have a right to a priest who is gentle, compassionate, who has rested or who is rested. That's why he can take whatever people come with and he can deal with it without sending them off with a harsh word or just with his behavior. So I think that's there.
Right. And this is kind of a broad question, but in what way has being part of the SMA had the largest impact on your life?
I think when I'm looking at my life journey, being a missionary, being in the SMA allowed me to become who am I now. That means that it allowed me to discover the talents that I have, and as well as some shortcomings I have. I became more aware of it, but at the same time it allowed me to respond to the needs which are there. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not that as a missionaries, as members of the SMA, we do what we want to do, but it doesn't mean that myself, that I am unhappy because of it. I'm always discovering what is the role of God in it and how is He leading us. And in the missionary work, this I think that the prime importance. And the SMA is helping in it a lot by providing. It was providing me from the beginning with this mutual help, which is there, with possibility for spiritual growth, giving me time and possibilities. And then every meeting with a new person within the SMA, it's such a moment of enrichment that it's even hard to calculate it. Or how is it helping me? And I hope that by my presence here, people are as well are enriched, so it's going both ways as well.
Right, of course. Well, Father Andrew, thank you so much for talking to us today. Loved hearing what you had to say. This has been Father Andrew of the SMA, and I'm Amy McDonough from the Media Department of the SMA. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you very much.